Today, I'm going to be starting a process to create the most complicated and elaborate trading card game ever. But first, what is a trading card game? Well, you might have heard of Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon before, and those are all examples. And it contains cards that you can collect and then battle another opponent with them. And some of them have some pretty complicated things. But I want this one to be way too complicated. Like way too complicated. Like hundreds of pages of rules eventually. And it's going to be interesting, but today I'm just going to be laying out the foundation, and then later we're going to build up on that. So let's get started. I'm going to be going through this stuff pretty fast since there's a lot to cover. But if you want to look at the full thing, I'll have a Google Doc in the description, and that's where I'm going to be writing down all the notes that I take. So let's get into it. So there's 4 types of cards: soul, construct, item, and event. Souls are your creatures. They fight for you and can do quite a few things. Constructs are buildings that you construct with materials found around the map, and these can do various things as well. Items are either one-use or long-lasting effects that can be used to alter the game. Events are hard to play, hard to get cards that alter the entire game board. So, I'm here on the fabled Google Doc of Destiny, and here I'm going to be showcasing the turn structure, as it says here, because I'm a beast at formatting. So, there's not really much information, because again, this is just a foundation, but Phase 1 is where abilities like items or souls abilities trigger in like the beginning of the turn. So like at the beginning of the turn, draw a card or something, which is lame, but and then the player draws cards from the deck. They draw up to the max hand size, so if they and it's a default of 5 cards, but it can be modified by like souls and items. And if you have like 2 cards, you draw 3 cards to get up to 5 or whatever your hand limit is. And then phase 2 is you move your souls, you play your items and stuff, you play souls, and just action phase pretty much, generic action phase. And then phase 3 is, this phase involves all battles being resolved, so like if you move your soul onto another soul's tile of your opponent, then a battle like starts, and then in phase 3 they're all resolved, and I'll tell you how those work in a second. And phase 4 involves a player discarding down to their max hand limit. If they drew cards and went above it, then they have to discard back down to it. And all abilities that activate at the end of the turn trigger in. And then the player's turn ends. Constructs. These cards can be built with the cost of resources your souls collect, and the cost reduced if it built on ruins that are found around the map. They're solid objects, they block creatures, they also can give buffs to your creatures. Their stats are integrity, how much power is required to destroy it, and it can be applied through multiple creatures at a time. The buffs it gives, some of the buffs it gives, are safe house, only your creatures can enter, no matter their intelligence, unless the opponent has a creature with high enough intelligence to figure out how to break in. Production takes materials gathered on the map or produced by other production buildings to make something new or power an item. And a wall cannot be destroyed by creatures and can only be destroyed by items or events. And an item can only be played on your turn unless the item says otherwise, and some items have a cost to power them and resources. And each item is unique, and there's a long list of interactions that I'm going to make when I start creating the cards. And some universal abilities I made are Skill Shuffle. It shuffles around the skill points that your souls have. And there's a number like Skill Shuffle 2 or Skill Shuffle 5. That's how many skill points you can move around. And Skill Boost is the same thing, except instead of moving them around, it just adds skill points. And Perishable means it's a one-time use, unless like there's a special effect on the card or another card. Non-perishable is it lasts on the field until destroyed or otherwise affected by another card. And Event, these cards cost many resources to play. They're powerful. They affect the entire board no matter what. Example, making a temperature change or making some new weather. So the last thing I'm going to do is go over a quick battle scenario. The house cat moves on to the raven's tile. The opposite would be impossible because the house cat has higher intimidation. And the house cat gets the first attack because it initiated the battle. So the Raven loses attack speed equal to the intimidation difference and gains mobility equal to the difference. So its mobility goes up to 3.5 and its attack speed goes down to 1.5. The house cat attacks with its first attack, and the Raven has a mobility of 3.5, which is less than the house cat's power 5, so it fails to dodge the attack. And it pierces the Raven's defense and does the difference to the Raven's HP. Then it gets lowered to 3 HP. And the Raven does not bother to attack on its turn, because it will not pierce the cat's defense, so if it attacks, it won't do any damage. Instead, it decides to fly onto a building 3 tiles away, and since its mobility is 3.5, it can reach. The building is 3 tiles tall, and since the Raven has flight, it can just immediately fly on top. And the house cat cannot climb it as its climbing is 2.5, so therefore the battle is over. And that is just one of the many scenarios that could happen. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this little quick overview. I'm going to be making update videos every Wednesday on this. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. See you guys.